The starship Horizon moved through the dark space between stars. It was a large ship, carrying over 300 crew members from 12 different species. They were on a mission to map new star systems, and they had been traveling for almost 2 years now. Do-hoon was working in the engine room when he started to feel strange. He was a human engineer, one of only 4 humans on the entire ship. He was 29 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. He had been working double shifts for the past week because one of the power converters was giving them problems. The engine room was hot and loud. Machines hummed and clicked all around him. Do-hoon wiped sweat from his forehead and looked at the screen in front of him. The numbers were not making sense. He blinked hard and tried to focus. But the numbers seemed to dance and move. His head felt light. His chest felt tight. He had not slept more than 4 hours in the past 3 days. He had not eaten a proper meal since yesterday morning. This was normal for him. This was how he always worked when there was a problem to solve. A Velen technician named Cora was working nearby. She was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. The Velens were a peaceful species known for their medical knowledge. Cora looked up from her work and saw Do-hoon leaning against the wall. "Engineer Do-hoon," she said, her voice soft and musical. "You do not look well." Do-hoon tried to smile. "I am fine," he said. "Just a little tired." But he was not fine. The room was starting to spin. The lights seemed too bright. His heart was beating very fast, and he could hear it pounding in his ears. He took a step forward, and his legs gave out. Cora caught him before he hit the floor. She was stronger than she looked. "Medical emergency in engine room 7, she called into her communicator. "Human crew member has collapsed. I need help immediately." Do-hoon tried to speak, but no words came out. Everything was becoming dark and fuzzy. He could hear voices around him, but they sounded far away. Then everything went black. When the medical team arrived, they found Cora holding Do-hoon's head in her lap. She was checking his pulse with her long fingers, her face full of worry. 2 medical officers quickly placed Do-hoon on a floating stretcher and rushed him to the medical bay. Dr. Tira was waiting for them. She was the ship's chief medical officer, a Velen like Cora. She had been a doctor for over 40 years and had treated hundreds of different species, but humans were still new to her. The Velens had only made contact with humans 5 years ago, and there was still much they did not understand about these strange creatures from the planet called Earth. "Put him on bed 3, Tira ordered. Her voice was calm but firm. She had seen many emergencies in her career. "Start the full body scan immediately." The medical bay was clean and white. Machines lined the walls, blinking with colorful lights. The air smelled like medicine and metal. 3 other patients were resting in beds on the far side of the room, but Tira's full attention was on the unconscious human. The scanning machine moved over Do-hoon's body, reading everything about him: his bones, his muscles, his organs, his blood. Every tiny detail was recorded and analyzed. Tira watched the results appear on her screen, and her large dark eyes grew wider with each passing second. "This cannot be right," she whispered. She ran the scan again. The results were the same. She ran it a 3rd time. Still the same. Tira felt her hearts begin to race. Yes, hearts. Velens had 2 hearts, and right now both of them were beating very fast. She had never seen anything like this in all her years of medicine. The screen showed Do-hoon's hormone levels: cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine. These were stress hormones, chemicals that the body makes when it is in danger. Every species had something similar. When a predator attacks, the body floods itself with these hormones. They make you faster, stronger, more alert. They help you fight or run away. But these levels were supposed to be temporary, a few minutes at most. After the danger passes, the hormones go back to normal. That was how it worked for every species Tira had ever studied. Do-hoon's levels were not normal. They were extremely high, so high that they should have killed him. So high that Tira first thought her machine was broken. "Get me his medical records," she told her assistant, a young Velen named Pym. All of them, from when he first joined the ship. Pym hurried to the computer and pulled up the files. Tira studied them carefully, her worry growing deeper with each page. Do-hoon had been on the ship for 18 months. He had come to the medical bay 7 times during that period. Twice for minor injuries, once for a cold, 4 times for routine checkups. And every single time, his stress hormone levels had been just as high as they were now. "This is impossible," Tira said. She turned to look at the unconscious human on the bed. He was breathing slowly and steadily. His face was relaxed, almost peaceful. He did not look like someone whose body was full of deadly chemicals. Tira had seen many things in her career. She had treated soldiers who had been in terrible battles. She had cared for survivors of ship crashes and natural disasters. She knew what extreme stress looked like. She knew the damage it could do to a body. Those patients had stress hormone levels maybe half of what Do-hoon had, and those levels had nearly killed them. "Pym," Tira said slowly, "contact the captain. Tell him we have a serious situation, and find the other humans on this ship. I need to speak with them immediately." Pym nodded and rushed out of the room. Tira stayed by Do-hoon's bed, watching him breathe. She placed a cooling pad on his forehead and made sure his vital signs were stable. He seemed to be sleeping now, not unconscious. His body was recovering on its own, which should have been impossible given what was flowing through his blood. Tira had given him no medicine. She had been afraid to. She did not know what human bodies could handle. She looked at the screen again. The numbers had not changed. Cortisol levels that could stop a Velen heart. Adrenaline that could drive a Korath into madness. And this human was sleeping peacefully, as if nothing was wrong. Tira sat down in her chair and took a deep breath. In 40 years of medicine, she had never felt so confused. She had never felt so scared. Because if these readings were accurate, then humans were not like any species she had ever known. They were something else entirely, something that should not be able to exist. And there were 4 of them on her ship. Captain Knoll was in his office when the message came. He was a Torath, a species known for their calm thinking and careful decisions. The Torath had gray skin and 4 arms, and they moved slowly and carefully. They did not like surprises. They did not like problems they could not solve. The message from the medical bay was definitely a problem. "I will be there in 5 minutes," Captain Knoll said into his communicator. He stood up from his desk and stretched his 4 arms. He had been captain of the Horizon for 6 years, and he had learned to expect the unexpected. But something in Dr. Tira's voice worried him. She had sounded scared, and Tira was never scared. On his way to the medical bay, Captain Knoll thought about the humans on his ship. There were 4 of them: Do-hoon the engineer, Hana the liaison officer, Junho the security guard, and Yuna the pilot. They had joined the crew 18 months ago as part of a new program between Earth and the Galactic Alliance. Humans were still very new to space travel. They had only discovered faster-than-light technology 10 years ago. Before that, they had been trapped on their single planet, looking up at the stars and dreaming. Now they were everywhere, spreading through the galaxy like water through sand. Captain Knoll had been unsure about having humans on his ship at first. They were strange creatures. They did not sleep enough. They ate strange foods. They made strange sounds called laughter that had frightened the crew at first, but over time he had grown to respect them. They worked hard. They were creative. They never gave up, even when things seemed impossible. When Captain Knoll entered the medical bay, he found Dr. Tira standing by a bed, where Do-hoon lay sleeping. Her blue hands were shaking slightly. Next to her stood Hana, the human liaison officer. Hana was a small woman with long black hair tied back in a neat bun. She was 32 years old and very good at her job, which was to help humans and aliens understand each other. "Captain," Tira said, her voice tight, Thank you for coming so quickly. What is the situation? Captain Knoll asked. He looked at Do-hoon. The human seemed peaceful. His chest rose and fell with slow, steady breaths. He appears to be resting. He is resting now, Tira said. But that is not the problem. The problem is what I found in his blood. She walked to the large screen on the wall and pulled up Do-hoon's scan results. Look at these numbers, Captain. Captain Knoll studied the screen. He was not a doctor, but he understood basic biology. He saw the stress hormone levels and frowned. These numbers seem very high. Very high? Tira's voice rose. Captain, these numbers are deadly. Any Velen with these hormone levels would be dead within 1 hour. A Torath would be dead within 2 hours. Even a Korath, the strongest species we know, would be dead within 6 hours. Captain Knoll felt a cold feeling spread through his body. He looked at Do-hoon again. The human was still breathing, still alive, still sleeping peacefully. But he is not dead, Captain Knoll said slowly. No, he is not dead. Tira pulled up more information on the screen. And here is the truly terrifying part. I checked his medical records from the past 18 months. His hormone levels have always been this high. Every single checkup, every single scan, always the same deadly numbers. Hana stepped forward. She had been quiet until now, watching and listening. Dr. Tira, she said calmly, may I see those results? Tira moved aside. Hana studied the screen carefully, her dark eyes moving over the numbers. Her face showed no surprise, no fear, just calm understanding. I see, Hana said softly. Then she did something that shocked both Tira and Captain Knoll. She laughed. It was not a loud laugh. It was quiet and gentle, like a small stream flowing over rocks. But in the tense silence of the medical bay, it was the strangest sound any of them had ever heard. Why are you laughing? Tira demanded. Her voice was sharp with fear and confusion. Your fellow human is lying here with enough stress hormones in his body to kill an army, and you are laughing. Hana turned to face them. Her eyes were kind but also sad, in a way that Captain Knoll did not understand. I am sorry, Doctor, Hana said. I am not laughing at you or at this situation. I am laughing because I know exactly what you are seeing, and I know exactly what it means. She paused and took a deep breath. Those numbers are not wrong. Those numbers are not a sign of sickness or danger. Those numbers are completely normal for a human. Tira stared at her. Normal? How can that be normal? These levels would kill any other species. Yes, Hana said. They would, but humans are not like other species. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. When she spoke again, her voice was soft and thoughtful. Dr. Tira, do you know anything about Earth? Our home planet? Some things, Tira said. It is a mid-sized planet with one moon. Mostly water. Temperature ranges that allow for liquid water on the surface. That is true, Hana said. But that description makes Earth sound peaceful. Safe. It is not. Earth is what we call a death world. Captain Knoll had heard this term before. Death worlds were planets where the conditions were so dangerous that most life could not survive. They were rare, and most of them had no intelligent life at all. Earth is a death world? Captain Knoll asked. But you have billions of people living there. Yes, we do, Hana said, and that is the point. We did not evolve on a safe planet, Captain. We evolved in a place that tried to kill us every single day. Predators with teeth and claws, extreme temperatures, poisonous plants and animals, diseases that could wipe out entire populations, natural disasters that could destroy everything in minutes. She turned back to face them. Our bodies adapted. We became persistence predators. Do you know what that means? Tira shook her head. Captain Knoll said nothing. Most predators kill with speed or strength, Hana explained. They attack fast, and if they miss, they give up. But humans are different. We are not the fastest or the strongest. Instead, we hunt by never stopping. We chase our prey for hours, sometimes days. We do not stop until the prey is so exhausted that it cannot run anymore. She pointed at the screen showing Do-hoon's hormone levels. Those chemicals in his blood? That is what makes it possible. Our bodies are always ready for danger, always ready to fight or run, always full of the chemicals that other species only feel in moments of extreme crisis. Tira sat down heavily in her chair. Her blue face had become pale. You are telling me that humans live their entire lives in a state that would kill other species? Yes, Hana said simply. What you see as deadly stress, we see as normal existence. It is our baseline state. Captain Knoll felt something he had never felt before when thinking about humans. He had respected them. He had liked them. But now, for the first time, he felt afraid of them. This is why humans never seem to panic, he said slowly, understanding coming to him like light breaking through clouds. During emergencies, during battles, during disasters, the humans always stay calm. I thought it was training. I thought it was courage. It is not courage, Hana said. It is simply that what you call a crisis, we call Tuesday. We are always in crisis mode, Captain. We have been since the day we were born. When danger comes, other species have to adjust. They have to flood their bodies with stress hormones. But we do not need to adjust. We are already there. She looked at Do-hoon, still sleeping peacefully on the bed. He collapsed because he did not eat or sleep for too long. Even humans have limits. But his stress hormones? Those had nothing to do with it. Those are just how he is. How all of us are. Tira looked at the screen again. The numbers had not changed. They were still terrifyingly high, but now she understood what they meant. I need to update my medical files, she said quietly. I need to learn everything about human biology. Because if I had tried to treat him based on what I knew about other species, I might have killed him. That would be wise, Hana agreed. Humans are different from other species in many ways. Our stress hormones are just the beginning. Captain Knoll stood very still, thinking. He had 4 humans on his ship, 4 creatures whose bodies ran on chemicals that would kill anyone else, 4 impossible beings who walked through their lives in a state of constant emergency, and they thought this was normal. For the first time in his long career, Captain Knoll was not sure if he should feel worried or amazed. Do-hoon woke up slowly. His eyes opened and closed several times before he could keep them open. The ceiling above him was white and clean, medical bay. He knew it immediately. He had been here before. He tried to sit up, but a gentle hand pushed him back down. Stay still, said a soft voice. It was Dr. Tira. She was standing beside his bed, her large dark eyes watching him carefully. You collapsed in the engine room. You have been sleeping for 3 hours. 3 hours? Do-hoon rubbed his eyes. The power converter. I need to get back to work. We cannot afford more delays. The power converter can wait, said another voice. Captain Knoll was standing at the foot of the bed, his 4 arms crossed over his chest. Beside him stood Hana, her face calm, but her eyes showing concern. Do-hoon looked around at all of them. 3 people staring at him like he was some kind of puzzle they were trying to solve. He did not like this feeling. What is going on? He asked. I just passed out from being tired. It happens sometimes. Can I go now? Tira stepped closer to him. Engineer Do-hoon, I need to ask you some questions. Please answer honestly. Okay, Do-hoon said slowly. He was starting to feel worried now. The way they were looking at him was strange, like he had done something wrong, or like he was sick with some terrible disease. When I scanned your body, Tira said, I found very high levels of stress hormones in your blood, cortisol. adrenaline, norepinephrine. These levels were extremely high, higher than I have ever seen in any living creature. Do-hoon shrugged. So? Tira's voice rose. These levels would kill any other species on this ship. They would cause heart failure, brain damage, organ shutdown. You should be dead right now. Do-hoon looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at Hana. Did you explain it to them? I tried, Hana said. But I think they need to hear it from you, too. Do-hoon sighed and swung his legs over the side of the bed. He sat there for a moment, gathering his thoughts. How do you explain something that you have never had to explain before? How do you tell someone that what kills them is just normal for you? Dr. Tira, he began, what you found in my blood is not dangerous, not for humans. That is just how we are. That is our baseline state. Your baseline state, Tira repeated. She said the words slowly, like she was trying to understand a strange new language. Yes, humans are always like this. Our bodies are always producing these hormones. They never stop. From the moment we are born until the moment we die, we are running on what you would call stress mode. Tira pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. She looked tired, like this conversation was taking everything she had. But why? Why would any species evolve this way? It makes no sense. It makes perfect sense if you understand where we came from, Do-hoon said. He was fully awake now, and he found himself wanting to help Tira understand. She was a good doctor. She cared about her patients. She deserved to know the truth about humans. Earth is not a gentle place, he continued. It is a planet that has been trying to kill us for millions of years. We evolved alongside predators that could crush us with one bite. We lived through ice ages and heat waves. We ate plants and animals that were often poisonous. We survived diseases that wiped out most of our populations. He paused, thinking about his home planet. He had not seen Earth in almost 2 years. Sometimes he missed it. The blue sky, the green trees, the smell of rain. But he also remembered the dangers, the earthquakes, the storms, the predators that still lived in the wild places. Our ancestors did not have sharp claws or big teeth, Do-hoon said. We were small and weak compared to the animals that hunted us. But we had 2 things they did not have. Big brains that could make plans and solve problems, and bodies that never stopped being ready for danger. Captain Knoll spoke for the first time. Hana mentioned that humans are persistence predators. She said you chase prey until they collapse from exhaustion. That is true, Do-hoon said. We cannot run as fast as most animals, but we can run for longer, much longer. Our ancestors would chase a deer for hours, sometimes days. The deer would run fast and get ahead, but it would have to stop and rest. Our ancestors would keep coming, walking, jogging, never stopping. Eventually, the deer would be so tired that it could not run anymore. Then our ancestors would catch it. Tira was staring at him with something like horror in her eyes. That is terrifying. I suppose it is, Do-hoon admitted. But it is how we survived. And it is why our bodies are the way they are. Those hormones you found, they keep us alert. They keep us ready. They help us run for hours without stopping. They help us fight when we have to fight. They help us survive things that would kill other creatures. But the cost, Tira said. The damage to your body over time must be enormous. Do-hoon nodded. It is. Humans do not live as long as many species. Our bodies wear out. The constant stress takes its toll, but we have learned to manage it. We sleep, we eat, we rest when we can. We have learned to find moments of peace even while our bodies are screaming that danger is everywhere. He looked at his hands, strong hands, workers' hands, hands that had fixed countless machines and solved countless problems. Hands that shook sometimes when he was very tired. The thing is, he said quietly, we do not know any other way to be. This is normal for us. This is just life. When I woke up this morning, my body was full of those chemicals. When I was working on the power converter, my body was full of them. When I collapsed and when I woke up just now, they were still there. They will be there tomorrow and the day after and every day until I die." The room was silent. Tira, Captain Knoll, and Hana all watched Do-hoon with different expressions. Tira looked sad. Captain Knoll looked thoughtful. Hana looked proud. "I have a question," Captain Knoll said finally. "If your body is always in this state of stress, how do you handle actual emergencies? When real danger comes, what happens?" Do-hoon thought about this. It was a good question, one that he had never really considered before. "I suppose we just keep going," he said. "When danger comes, other species have to adjust. Their bodies have to start making these hormones. That takes time, but we are already adjusted. We are already ready. We just do what needs to be done." "I have seen this," Captain Knoll said slowly. "During the incident in the Corva system when the pirates attacked our ship. I remember watching the human security guard, Junho. Everyone else was panicking. The Velans were frozen with fear. The Koraths were roaring and running in circles. But Junho just walked calmly to his station and started shooting at the enemy ship. He did not seem scared at all." "He was scared," Do-hoon said. "Trust me, he was scared. He told me later that he was terrified. But his body was already full of the chemicals it needed to deal with the fear. He did not have to wait for them. He could act immediately." Tira stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the stars for a long time before speaking. "I have been a doctor for 40 years, she said. "I thought I understood biology. I thought I understood how living things work. But I did not understand humans at all. You are not like us. You are not like any species I have ever known. We are just different," Do-hoon said. "Not better or worse. Just different." Tira turned back to face him. There were tears in her large, dark eyes. "No," she said softly. "You are wrong. You are not just different. You are remarkable. You carry inside your bodies the weight of 1,000 emergencies, and you still get up every morning. You still work. You still laugh. You still love. That is not just different. That is extraordinary." Do-hoon did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as extraordinary. He was just a human, just a man who fixed machines and tried to do his job. He had never considered that something as simple as his body chemistry could be so amazing to others. "Thank you," he said finally. It was all he could think of to say. Captain Knoll uncrossed his 4 arms. "I believe we all have much to think about," he said. "Dr. Tira, please update your medical files with this new information, and make sure all medical staff are trained on human biology. We cannot afford any mistakes." "Yes, Captain," Tira said. Captain Knoll looked at Do-hoon. "As for you, Engineer Do-hoon, you are ordered to rest for the next 12 hours. Eat a proper meal, sleep in a real bed. The power converter can wait." Do-hoon wanted to argue, but he saw the look in Captain Knoll's eyes. It was not anger, it was concern, maybe even respect. "Yes, Captain," Do-hoon said, and for the first time in many days, he let himself relax. News traveled fast on a starship. By the next morning, everyone on the horizon knew about the human and his impossible blood test. The story spread through the mess hall, the recreation rooms, the workstations, and the sleeping quarters. Aliens whispered to each other in hallways and sent messages to friends on other decks. The human named Do-hoon had stress hormones in his blood that could kill anyone else, and he called it normal. Cora, the Velan technician who had caught Do-hoon when he fell, sat in the mess hall with her breakfast. She was not eating. She was staring at the wall, thinking about what she had heard. "Is it true?" asked her friend, a small furry creature named Bix. Bix was a Peloran, a species known for their curiosity and their love of gossip. "Is it really true that humans are always in stress mode?" "It is true," Cora said quietly. "I saw the medical report. Dr. Tira shared it with the senior staff. The numbers are real. The humans on this ship are carrying enough stress chemicals to kill all of us. Bix shivered. His fur stood up on his small body. That is terrifying. How do they live like that? How do they stay sane? Cora did not have an answer. She had been thinking about this question all night. She had worked with Do-hoon for months. He had always seemed so calm, so steady. He never yelled. He never lost his temper. He just worked and worked and worked until problems were solved. She had thought he was peaceful. She had thought he was relaxed. But now she knew the truth. Under that calm surface, his body was screaming with danger signals all the time. Every minute of every day. I need to talk to him, Cora said suddenly. She stood up and left her breakfast on the table. Bix watched her go, his small eyes wide with surprise. Cora found Do-hoon in the observation deck. This was a large room with huge windows that looked out at the stars. It was quiet here, and many crew members came to think or relax. Do-hoon was sitting in a chair near the window, staring out at the endless darkness. "May I sit?" Cora asked. Do-hoon looked up at her and smiled. "Of course, please." Cora sat in the chair next to him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They just watched the stars together. "I heard that everyone is talking about me," Do-hoon said finally. His voice was calm, but there was a small smile on his face. The strange human with the deadly blood. "People are curious," Cora said, "and scared, and amazed, all at the same time." "I understand," Do-hoon said. "When we first met aliens, we had similar feelings about many of your species. The Korath with their incredible strength, the Velans with your two hearts, the Pelorans with their ability to see in the dark. Everyone seems strange until you get to know them." Cora nodded slowly. "But this is different. What you have inside you is not a gift. It is a burden. It must be so hard to live like that." Do-hoon thought about this. He looked out at the stars and his eyes became distant. "I do not know any other way to live," he said. "From the day I was born, my body has been like this. My parents were like this. My grandparents were like this. Every human who has ever lived has been like this. We do not feel burdened because we do not know what it feels like to be any other way." "But the anxiety," Cora said. "The constant feeling that something is wrong. How do you stand it?" Do-hoon smiled sadly. "We learn to live with it. We learn to find joy despite it. We learn that even when our bodies tell us that death is around every corner, we can still laugh. We can still love. We can still create beautiful things." He turned to look at her. "Do you know what I was thinking about before you came here?" Cora shook her head. "I was thinking about my sister," Do-hoon said. "Her name is June. She is back on Earth in a city called Busan. She is a teacher. She teaches young children how to read and write. Every day she stands in front of a classroom full of small humans, and she shows them how to understand words." His eyes were warm with love. "Her body is full of the same chemicals as mine. Every moment she is teaching, her body is telling her that danger is near. But she ignores it. She focuses on the children. She helps them learn. She makes them feel safe and happy." He paused. "That is what humans do. We feel the fear, but we choose to act anyway. We feel the stress, but we choose to create anyway. We feel the anxiety, but we choose to love anyway." Cora felt tears forming in her eyes. She did not fully understand humans, but she was starting to see something beautiful in them, something brave and stubborn and wonderful. "I am sorry," she said. "I caught you when you fell in the engine room. I thought you were dying. I was so scared." "You saved me," Do-hoon said. "If you had not caught me, I would have hit my head on the floor. That could have been very bad. You did a good thing." Cora wiped her eyes. "I want to understand humans better. Will you teach me? Do-hun smiled. It was a warm smile, full of kindness. I will try, but you should know that even humans do not fully understand ourselves. We are still learning too. On the other side of the ship, Captain Knoll was having a meeting with his senior officers. They sat around a large table in the conference room, their faces serious. I have asked you all here to discuss what we have learned about our human crew members, Captain Knoll said. I believe this information changes many things. Commander Thane, a Korath with gray scales and sharp teeth, spoke first. I have fought alongside humans in 3 battles. I always thought they were brave. Now I understand that they are not brave in the way we think of bravery. They are simply built differently. Not brave? Said Lieutenant Vera, a Velen officer. I would argue they are more brave than any of us. They feel fear constantly, but they act anyway. That is true courage. I agree with Lieutenant Vera, said Navigator Paul, a Peleron with golden fur. Bravery is not the absence of fear. Bravery is action despite fear. Humans have more fear than any of us, and they still function. They still perform their duties. They still save lives. Captain Knoll listened to his officers' debate. He was thinking about the conversation he had witnessed in the medical bay. He was thinking about Do-hun's calm voice explaining something that should have been impossible. I have been captain of this ship for 6 years, he said finally. In that time, I have served with many species. I have learned to appreciate the strengths that each species brings. The Velen compassion, the Korath strength, the Peleran intelligence. But I admit that I did not understand what humans bring. He paused. Now I do. Humans bring endurance. They bring the ability to function under pressure that would destroy the rest of us. They bring a kind of resilience that I have never seen before. Commander Thane nodded slowly. During the pirate attack in the Corva system, I saw the human security guard take a hit from an energy blast. It burned his arm badly, but he did not stop fighting. He kept shooting until the battle was over. Then, and only then, did he go to the medical bay. Junho, Captain Knoll said. Yes, I remember. I thought he was showing off, trying to prove that humans were tough. Now I understand. He was not showing off. He was just being human. Lieutenant Vera spoke again. What should we do with this information, Captain? How does this change how we treat our human crew members? Captain Knoll thought carefully before answering. We treat them with respect. We give them the support they need. We understand that their experience of life is very different from ours, and we learn from them. Learn from them? Commander Thane asked. Yes, Captain Knoll said. Humans have learned to function despite constant stress. They have learned to find joy despite constant fear. They have learned to build civilizations despite coming from a planet that tried to kill them every day. There is much we can learn from that. The meeting ended, but the conversations continued. All across the ship, aliens were talking about humans. They were seeing their human crew members in a new light. The 4 humans on the horizon walked the same hallways they had always walked, but now everyone looked at them differently. Not with fear, not with pity, with respect, with wonder, with a new understanding of what it meant to be human. And in the observation deck, Do-hun and Korra kept watching the stars together. 2 very different beings, from 2 very different worlds, trying to understand each other. It was difficult, it was confusing, but it was also beautiful. Because that is what happened when different species came together. They learned, they grew, they became something more than they were alone. The universe was vast and strange and dangerous, but it was also full of wonder, and somewhere in that wonder, humans and aliens were finding a way to be friends. 3 weeks had passed since the incident in the medical bay. The Horizon continued its mission through the stars, mapping new systems and making new discoveries. But something had changed on the ship. Something important. The crew no longer looked at humans the same way. Do-hun noticed it first in small things. When he walked into the mess hall, other crew members would nod at him with respect. When he asked for help with a repair, aliens would volunteer quickly and eagerly. When he made a suggestion during meetings, people listened more carefully than before. At first, he thought he was imagining it, but then Hana confirmed what he was seeing. "They respect us now," she said one evening. They were eating dinner together in the mess hall, along with Junho and Yuna, the other two humans on the ship. "They understand us in a way they did not before." "It feels strange," Yuna said. She was the pilot of the ship, a quiet woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. "People keep asking me questions about Earth, about our history, about how we survived." "They want to understand," Junho said. He was the largest of the four humans, with broad shoulders and a kind face. "Can you blame them? If I learned that another species lived in permanent crisis mode, I would want to understand, too." Do-hun ate his food slowly, thinking. The attention was nice, but it also felt strange. He had not done anything special. He had just collapsed from exhaustion and had a blood test. That was all. But to the aliens, that blood test had changed everything. Dr. Tira had spent the past 3 weeks studying human biology. She had read every paper and report she could find. She had talked to human doctors on Earth through long-distance communication. She had run tests on all 4 humans with their permission. What she had learned amazed her. Human bodies were not just stressed. They were incredibly good at being stressed. Their hearts could beat fast for hours without damage. Their muscles could work without rest for longer than any other species. Their brains could focus on problems for days without losing their sharpness. And most amazing of all, humans could recover. After periods of extreme activity, they could sleep and eat and return to full strength. Their bodies were designed to handle punishment that would permanently damage other species. "You are the most resilient species we have ever encountered," Tira told the humans one day. "Your bodies are like machines designed for survival. Everything about you is built to endure." Do-hun had smiled at that. "We had to be," he said. "Earth did not give us a choice." Now, 3 weeks later, the horizon was approaching a new star system. Navigator Paul had detected unusual energy readings from the third planet. Captain Knoll had ordered the ship to investigate. "We will enter the system in 2 hours," Paul announced over the ship's communication system. "All crew to their stations." Do-hun was in the engine room, making final checks on the power systems. The power converter he had been working on was fully repaired now. The engines were running smoothly. The ship was ready for whatever they might find. Cora was working beside him. In the past 3 weeks, they had become good friends. She had asked him hundreds of questions about humans, and he had answered them all as best he could. She was curious and kind, and Do-hun enjoyed her company. "Are you nervous?" Cora asked. "About what we might find?" "A little," Do-hun admitted. "We do not know what is making those energy readings. It could be dangerous." "Your body is probably flooded with stress hormones right now," Cora said. Do-hun laughed. "My body is always flooded with stress hormones. But yes, maybe a little more than usual." The horizon entered the new star system slowly and carefully. The crew watched their screens and sensors, looking for any sign of danger. The third planet grew larger in their windows, a blue and green world that looked surprisingly like Earth. "I am detecting structures on the surface," Paul reported. "Cities, roads, signs of intelligent life." "Are they advanced?" Captain Knoll asked. "Unknown. The technology level appears to be similar to early space age. They have satellites in orbit, but no faster-than-light capability." Captain Knoll considered this carefully. First contact with a new species was always delicate. Things could go wrong in many ways. He needed to be careful. "Send a peaceful greeting on all frequencies," he ordered. "Let them know we are not hostile." The message was sent. For several long minutes, there was no response. Then the communication screen flickered to life, and a face appeared. The creature on the screen was strange and unfamiliar. It had 4 eyes and a mouth filled with small teeth. Its skin was purple and covered with tiny scales. It spoke in a language that the translation computer struggled to understand. After a moment, the computer found the right patterns, and the creature's words became clear. "You are not from our world," it said. Its voice was high and musical. "Who are you? What do you want?" Captain Knoll stepped forward. "We are explorers from the Galactic Alliance. We come in peace. We wish only to learn about your people and share knowledge." The creature on the screen looked frightened. It turned to speak to others who were not visible. Then it turned back. "We are afraid," it said. "We have never met beings from other worlds. We do not know if we can trust you." Captain Knoll understood. He remembered the fear his own people had felt when they first met aliens. It was natural to be scared of the unknown. "May we send a small group to meet with you?" he asked. "Face to face? We will bring no weapons. We only want to talk." The creature hesitated. Then it nodded slowly. "Send 3 of your people. We will meet them at the location I am sending now. But be warned, if you try to harm us, we will defend ourselves." "We understand," Captain Knoll said. "Thank you for your trust." The screen went dark. Captain Knoll turned to his crew. "I need 3 volunteers for the landing party," he said. "This first contact mission is very important. We need people who are calm under pressure, people who will not panic if things go wrong." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Cora raised her hand. "I volunteer, Captain, and I think we should send a human." Captain Knoll looked at her. "Why a human?" "Because humans are the best at staying calm in stressful situations," Cora said. "They are built for it. If anything goes wrong down there, a human will be the least likely to panic." The other officers murmured in agreement. They had all learned about human biology in the past 3 weeks. They all understood what Cora was saying. Captain Knoll nodded slowly. "Do-hun, will you join the landing party?" Do-hun looked up from his station. He was surprised by the request. He was just an engineer. He had no training in first contact situations. But he saw the trust in Captain Knoll's eyes. He saw the confidence in Cora's face. He understood why they were asking him. Because he was human. Because his body could handle pressure that would break others. Because he would not panic. "Yes, Captain," he said. "I will go." The landing party consisted of Cora, Do-hun, and Lieutenant Vera. They took a small shuttle down to the planet's surface and landed at the location the aliens had specified. It was a flat field near a small city with purple grass and strange trees with orange leaves. The aliens were waiting for them. There were 5 of them, all looking scared and nervous. Their 4 eyes watched the shuttle with fear and curiosity. Do-hun was the first to step out. He moved slowly and calmly, keeping his hands visible. His heart was beating fast, but his face showed no fear. He had learned long ago how to appear calm even when his body was screaming danger. "Hello," he said. "My name is Do-hun. I am a human. We are happy to meet you." The aliens stared at him. One of them stepped forward. It was the same creature that had appeared on the screen. "You do not seem afraid," it said. "Are you not scared of us?" Do-hun smiled gently. "I am scared, but I have learned to act despite my fear. All humans have." The alien tilted its head, confused. "How is that possible? Fear stops action. Fear keeps you frozen." "Not for humans," Do-hun said. "For us, fear is just a feeling. We acknowledge it, but we do not let it control us. We feel the fear, and then we do what needs to be done anyway." The aliens looked at each other. They seemed amazed by this idea. In their culture, fear was powerful. Fear controlled everything. To hear that a species could feel fear and still act was something they had never imagined. "You are a strange species," the alien said finally, "but I think we can learn from you." Dohun bowed his head respectfully. "And we can learn from you. That is why we are here, to learn and share and grow together." The first contact was successful. Over the following days, the Horizon crew and the aliens of this new world talked and exchanged information. It was the beginning of a new friendship, a new partnership, a new chapter in the history of the galaxy. And at the center of it all was a human. An ordinary man with extraordinary biology. A man whose blood was full of chemicals that would kill anyone else. A man who walked through life in a state of constant emergency and still found the strength to be kind, to be brave, to reach out to others. When the Horizon finally left the system, the aliens watched them go with respect and wonder. "The humans," one of them said, "they are remarkable." "Yes," said another, "they carry nightmares in their blood, but they still dream of peace." Back on the ship, Dohun returned to his work in the engine room. He fixed machines. He solved problems. He ate and slept and laughed with his friends. He lived his life the way he always had. But something was different now. Everyone on the ship knew what he was. Everyone understood what it meant to be human. And they respected him for it. Not because he was special, not because he had done anything great, but because he was human. Because he lived every day with a body that screamed danger, and he still chose to live with kindness and courage. That was the gift humans brought to the galaxy. Not strength, not speed, not technology, just the simple, stubborn ability to keep going no matter what. And that was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.